Hello everyone, and welcome to this first session in our new Warhammer 40,000 Dark Heresy first edition campaign. In this first session, technically session 0.5 I suppose, we'll be introducing our characters, getting some idea of what their life is about before the Inquisition comes a-knocking. A few things I want to mention before we get into the action is that, first of all, we won't be seeing a lot of mechanical aspects of the game today. The purpose of this session is, like I said, to introduce the characters. However, going forward, we'll take things slow. We'll take our time to learn the system. Some of us already know the system, some more than others. Some of us don't, and we'll take the time to learn the system together. Another thing I wanted to mention before we get going is the setting itself. There will be moments where we'll get setting elements wrong. Some elements of the setting we mention in game will be different from canon, either because we remember the setting wrong, or we simply think it fits in a different way. Just so you, our viewer, know that this might be a thing from time to time.
We shall approximate
absolutely
correct canon, but I think everybody watching us for any length of time probably knows we aren't exactly the biggest rule lawyers around here when it comes to such things as canon settings.
No. And
story is more important.
Story is more important, and it is in this case, Warhammer 40,000 is our world to do with as we want. So
yes.
So yeah.
Although I think we can be pretty sure that the Smurf Marines are still going to be fucking annoying. Because the Smurf Marines are always fucking annoying.
So for all Ultramarine fans out there, please do send any hate mail you may have to joan@CharismaToAC.com. This is not an actual email address, but still, send it that way.
Smurf Marines.
Yes, Joan.
Yes.
May the spiritual liege be with you.
So yeah, with those two things out of the way, I think we might as well just jump into it. But first of all, I need to say, hello guys! How are you on this fine Tuesday evening?
Doing acceptable.
Acceptable. That is good.
Operating within acceptable parameters.
Yes.
Having had a nap, I am now well rested, so yay.
Yay.
Rasmus the human cat.
Oh yes.
If he doesn't nap 18 times a day, he's not doing well.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, like I said earlier in the intro, I think I said it a few times actually. This is in this session we'll be introducing the characters, and why don't we just jump right into it with our first character? Who wants to go first?
Not it.
Who wants to sing?
I don't mind.
Okay. Yay.
So, Chris, your character, who is he?
My character is Akalon.
Accordion.
Ginger snap.
Be nice.
I'm nice.
Aya, may you both be condemned to the foulest pits of the warp.
Yay! What's that?
You'll find out.
Akalon
cool place.
Quillan. Akalon Quillan is his name. An Imperial Psyker from the Shrine World come Agri World Piety of Seth. Let's see. Sort of aims to be our glass cannon and a poor man's replacement to the adept by way of having great knowledge and other things like that.
Okay. Good.
Cool. And is there anything you want to mention about his background before we jump into the first scene?
Yes, Akalon, having spent most of his life on the party of Seth, and has been in the indentured servitude of the ecclesiarchy, the priesthood of the God Emperor of mankind. Due to this, and due to the sanctioning he underwent as a psyker, he is utterly convinced of the majesty and might of the God Emperor and his holy servants, and he is also convinced that his own existence as a psyker is sinful, but that he may yet have a chance to redeem himself of the sin of existing as long as he devotes himself to the service of the Emperor and his holy servants in life and in death. He has assisted his ward, a mid-ranking ecclesiastical priest by the name of Pontius Voltor, in investigating the criminal elements of his home town of Port Calling, one of the two major port cities of Piety of Seth. His ward was sadly killed in the gang warfare, and with the tentative consent of the Cardinal Praetor, sort of the leader of the planet, he assisted the Adeptus Arbites, the police force there, in
Judge Dreads.
Yes, the Judge Dreads of the Imperium, because they're all like that.
Yep.
I mean, it makes sense, out of character and off topic slightly, in that I think some of the people who worked on 2000 AD did have some early input into elements of Warhammer, but that's besides the point.
That explains that does at least explain the look of the Arbites uniform.
Yes.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
Akalon assisted them in a obviously fairly minor but crucial capacity, given that he was both a knowledgeable ecclesiarch. He had been working with his ward on the case. He had some of the knowledge, and his psychic powers lay in the field of divination. So his assistance was there in helping to curtail and eliminate much of this of the criminal elements of the city and in the further planet beyond. And this was all done as a means of avenging the death of his ward, and that's pretty much exactly where we left off in the backstory I wrote for him.
Okay.
Cool. Very cool. So,
Awesome.
so one thing we also need to mention is that we do have 2 new players to the setting, and we will from time to time have to stop the action or the narrative and explain some of the countless big fancy words that are tied to the setting. In this case, I'd like to just mention the Adeptus Arbites, which Chris and Joan correctly referred to as the Judge Dreads of the setting. Basically, the Adeptus Arbites is an organization created to uphold the Lex Imperialis, which is the
Imperial law.
imperial law, exactly.
That's literally what the word means, incidentally.
Yep. And these judges have, or these arbitrators, as they are formerly known as, uphold this imperial code throughout the Imperium with extreme prejudice.
Great deal of brutality.
And a great deal of brutality. Local law is usually left to local law enforcement, because pretty much every world within the Imperium has its own set of local laws. But the law of the Imperium is enforced by these arbitrators from the Adeptus Arbites.
It's probably worth mentioning that, or comparing them. I think basically they are the FBI of the 41st millennium. They have the capacity to go from one planet to another to pursue a criminal. They don't have to stay on their own planet.
Nope.
You used the word local law enforcement. These guys aren't local. They can go anywhere.
Yeah.
And the difference between them and our FBI in the real world is that these guys are also the judges and the executioners.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So just to bring our new players up to speed on what the term adeptus arbitis means and what arbitrators are. So yeah, cool. So that's a bit about Akalon, the Imperial Psyker. So my question is, Chris, where do we first meet our Inquisitor? What's he doing?
Inquisitor?
Sorry,
Yes.
not Inquisitor. Our Imperial Psyker Akalon.
Yeah, that's a big fat promotion. No, we meet our potential acolytes in the chapel of the main ecclesiastical complex in Port Calling, particularly the one where his late ward, the one that his late ward watched over and tended to, and that he now has continued the menial duties of tending to himself, even with Voltor's demise. So presently, he is using the chapel for his own prayer. He is knelt before an image of the imperial cult, whether that is of the Holy God Emperor or of the Imperial Aquila, is that will be up to the individual imagination of the listener or indeed the players. He is there kneeling, head bowed, hands. One hand curled into a fist, the other hand wrapped around it to symbolize prayer, and is reading a particular piece, a particular prayer or a particular ecclesiastical writing while doing so. Quietly muttering to himself, saying, "Love the Emperor, for he is the salvation of mankind. Obey his words, for he will lead you to the light of the future," and so on.
Okay. Cool. And as Akalon sits there in prayer, are his eyes closed?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so his eyes are closed. He's deep in prayer, and even though his eyes are closed, a landscape forms around him. He's no longer sitting in the comfort of the chapel, but rather he's standing on a tiny outcropping of rock in the middle of a vast ocean. The sky above is crimson, and the clouds rage across it. On this small rock in this vast ocean, there is a golden throne.
Oh my.
A person sits upon this throne, a corpse-like being, wearing, it seems, golden armor. From the forehead of this corpse-like being shoots a golden light up into the heavens. And how does Akalon react to this image, or indeed this reality, if that is what it is?
Is it pretty clear to Akalon who the figure in the golden armor is?
Who does Akalon think it is?
He doesn't know for certain. It's clearly meant to appear in the fashion of the God Emperor of mankind. But whether or not it is
Well, if that is the association Akalon gets, then that is what he believes.
And then he'll look upon it. He'll probably. He'll stay standing. He'll be sort of awestruck, jaw-struck to move, but he will continue to. He'll continue to whisper the continuing prayers under his breath in devotion to the figure before him.
Okay. Okay. As he continues his prayer, he notices that the top portion of this beam of golden light that streams from the corpse-like being's forehead, the portion that touches the sky, the red crimson sky, turns black, and slowly the blackness descends as more and more of this beam of light is snuffed out and replaced by utter blackness. And as Akalon watches, the light is the blackness reaches the corpse-like being, and as it does so, the corpse, who Akalon believes to be the God Emperor, collapses in its position upon the throne, and it too turns black. Then the throne itself is blackened, and the blackness spreads across this small rock toward Akalon.
I think he tries to back away, stumbling and confused. As he can't go far, I assume it's a small outcropping of rock.
Yep.
So he'll get to the point where he can go on no further, look back at the blackness coming at him, and then finally he shall speak one last prayer in his mind before he thinks it takes him. And with conviction, but also obviously some degree of fear, he says, "Those who follow false gods and work to deceive others, there is but one truth. All things are known to the Emperor. He shall judge their lies."
And as he finishes that prayer, that litany, or whatever you call it, he hears a whisper. He hears someone whispering his name. It appears to come from the now blackened corpse upon the black throne. Akalon! 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 Akalon!
His eyes open.
Are you okay? He sees standing beside him, with a hand on his shoulder, a fellow, or not a fellow, because he isn't officially part of the Ecclesiarchy, I don't imagine. But this one is. This fellow is a priest, and he stands beside Akalon, with a worried look on his face.
You hope so, Father.
Are you okay?
Please. I have been troubled by a vision of some sort. There's something very terrible is to occur in the future for me.
I need to pause here and say that someone is making an awful lot of noise.
Might be me, I'm not sure, but I will definitely mute, and then
Okay.
we hope that'll solve it.
On
Okay.
that note, Chris, could you speak a little louder, please?
I shall try, yes.
Okay, cool. Akalon, there is a lady outside wishing to speak to.
Who could possibly wish to speak with me?
She refuses to say her name, but she's not alone. She is with armed soldiers, and they just stepped out of a black lander.
By the saints, I must go immediately then.
Might be a good idea.
Thank you for telling me, Father.
Mm.
And Akalon stands up and bustles himself to the way out.
Mm. And outside the chapel stands, as the priest mentioned, a lady. She's dressed in a black body glove, a sword resting against her hip. She is completely bald. There's not a single hair on her head, and behind her stands 6 figures dressed in black carapace armor. They all carry black lasguns. And as Akalon exits the chapel, the woman steps forward and asks, "Are you Akalon?"
I am indeed, ma'am.
You will accompany us then to the capital world of Scintilla.
Immediately?
I will allow you to say any final goodbyes you may need to say to anyone on this planet, but we must leave soon.
Grant me but 15 minutes to pack my meager effects, and I shall return ready to leave then.
You have 15 minutes.
My thanks, my thanks. He bustles himself back inside. Gets his manages to hurriedly grab anything he's traveling with and get into some traveling clothes, and then appears back outside with a brief goodbye to the priest who got him earlier and explaining that he must go with them. And yes, and then appears again outside in his gear, very, very lightly leaning on his staff, assuming he has his staff at this point.
Are you ready to depart?
I am, ma'am.
Excellent. And then she just turns on her heel and walks off. The others falling in behind her. The 5 or 6 carapace armor clad gentlemen. And do you follow them?
Of course.
Okay.
I stay at the back of the group, but I do follow them quite. What's I'm looking for? Quite overtly. I make sure that it's clear that I am doing as I'm told.
Fair enough. So you follow them outside the chapel, and there stands, as the priest mentioned, a black lander, ready to take you and the woman and her soldiers to wherever it is we need to go. And assuming you just follow them into the lander, it takes off mere moments after you've entered it, and that is the last time, for a while at least, that you will see the piety of Seth.
The shock of realizing that he's leaving it potentially for a long time sets in just as sort of they really are taking off.
Yeah.
And he does his best to contain sort of his the sort of the look of loss and longing on his face as he looks back at the closed land bay door. Obviously, probably no window or anything to see out of, but just the fact that was where he came in. But yeah, and then sort of looks back to his feet and fiddles with his staff a bit.
On the bench opposite Akalon sits the woman, and Akalon has this distinct impression, even if he isn't looking at her, that she's looking at him throughout their entire journey up to the cruiser that'll take them to Scintilla. Her eyes never leave his. She never. At no point does she stop studying him and evaluating him.
At some point, then I think Akalon will not look her. He can't bring himself to look her in the eye. Obviously, she's too intense for that. But to sort of look at her general outline, and will say, "If I might be so bold as to ask, is this related to the events within Port Calling of recent that I have been involved with?"
She shakes her head and says, "I don't know. I've merely been ordered to retrieve you for my employer, and that is all I know. I know not of your background or my employer's reason for wanting you in her presence."
And who, if I might also ask, is your employer?
You may not ask.
Very well. I suspect beyond that, Akalon stays silent pretty much for the rest of the journey, unless anyone talks to him. But I doubt they will.
They won't. The 6 soldiers never speak a word. The 6 what are they called? 6 troopers.
Stormtroopers?
Stormtroopers, yes, exactly. The 6 stormtroopers never say a word. And neither does she, for that matter. Occasionally, a servitor comes in with refreshments and whatever else is requested or required, but there is no small talk, no casual conversation of any kind. There is only silence, and this silence continues when you reach the cruiser, the black cruiser that'll take you to Scintilla. You are given, or Akalon is given a cell in which to sleep and meditate and whatever else he needs. And servitors will see to his needs. They'll bring food, so on. But there is no interaction between him and the woman until they do reach Scintilla.
It's not entirely alien to him, the lack of interaction, but it is on a scale he's not used to. Whereas before he knew his place in the pecking order on piety of Seth, people did at least speak to him on a semi-regular basis within the chapel, within sort of the compound. So, but now, obviously, to be subject to so little interaction is quite jarring. But he keeps quiet and doesn't make a fuss of anything.
I imagine the only sound he really the only words he really hears is the words of the servitors as they communicate in their binary language, which isn't really a language he can understand at all, but it is at least some measure of communication. But other than that, no, there is no communication at all. He is, for all intents and purposes, isolated while on this journey. Eventually, I don't really know how long exactly it takes for the cruiser to reach Scintilla, but it's been a while. They've been in real space for quite a while, and eventually they do reach Scintilla, and Akalon doesn't know this until the woman does arrive at his cell and orders him to follow her. It's not a request, that is clear. Assuming that Akalon follows her order, she and the 6 stormtroopers lead him to that same Black Lander, and they the next thing Akalon sees is a courtyard as the bay door in the lander opens up, and he sees that the lander has landed in a courtyard between 3 towers, 3 massive black towers, and I think we'll stop Akalon's introduction there and pick up later. But for now, let's jump to one of the other characters. Do we have any volunteers, or should I just pick one?
I can volunteer, but I figure that it might be an idea to intersperse the experienced ones with...
Okay, that makes sense.
We are like a classroom. You have to pick one. No one is volunteering.
In that case, if you want an inexperienced player, I volunteer.
Okay.
You're
Cool.
gonna regret that.
Of course I am.
First rule of the Imperial Guard, never volunteer for anything.
Yep.
What if I am volunteered?
Well,
That,
you are forcefully volunteered into the service anyway, so
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Might as well own it.
Then if you volunteer, then you serve willingly and completely, either in combat or on the firing line.
yep.
As long as it's soft serve, it tastes better.
Cool. Okay, so Rasmus, who is your character and what does he do?
Well, my character is Timotheus Tilke, usually referred to as Tim, because that was one of the least threatening names I could come up with. He has spent his entire life on a orbital station orbiting the death world of Motresa, where his job has been to gift unto people who has the wrong opinion a pretty little hole in the forehead and a whole lot of brain on the wall behind them.
Okay. Cool. So, a bit of background or a bit of info about this station he was born in and has lived his entire life. Orbital Archaeotech Research Unit BN1553 is orbits, as you said, the death world Motresa, and its sole purpose is to serve as a staging area for expeditions down into the death world itself. It is run by Adeptus Mechanicus, the priesthood of Mars, and it is also this order of tech priests who oversee and conduct these expeditions down into the planet. On this research station lives thousands upon thousands of humans whose sole purpose is to support the expeditions in some way or another, whether as menial labor or as rank and file soldiers or whatever the case may be. That is what you and your fellow humans live to do. And as I understand it, you have for a while been attached to a unit of
Sedition silencers.
Exactly, that is the exact name of the unit.
Yep.
And you've been basically throughout your relatively short career in this unit been tasked with various missions involving silencing of sedition and rebellion and any idea and notion of revolt.
Yep.
So relatively recently, this unit was disbanded. It ceased to exist for various reasons.
Heine, is it okay if I interject here and just say something, or else I'm going to kick myself?
Yes, if it doesn't involve the word stick, because you've already been deducted XP.
No, it doesn't actually. It just involves. It just involves. He said that he's been quelling revolts. Well, the term then has to be, sir. The menials are revolting. Tell me something I don't know.
Cool. Nope, don't be. Okay, so about a year ago, roughly, a cabal of apostate tech priests, this meaning tech priests who have, for lack of a better term, joined the dark side, joined the forces of chaos, managed to infiltrate this research station and insert tainted circuitry into the countless servitors that are also present in the station. And this combined...
And that's bad.
And that is bad, because this combined with a station-wide breakdown in the servitor support systems resulted in these hundreds of servitors going rogue. Now, servitors are mindless or near mindless flesh metal things whose only purpose in their semi-life is to serve, hence the name. But this tainted circuitry, this chaos tainted circuitry, modified them. It installed in them murderous behavior, and that was a major issue. It has the issue has
I imagine.
the issue has since been resolved after it resulted in countless deaths. But the cabal was exposed and in a manner befitting tech priest justice was disposed of, and most of the servitors have also been rounded up and destroyed. Still, a few still exist within the dark deeps of this station, and this is where you come in, because you have been hired as a solo operative to find and eliminate the remaining rogue servitors.
By whom?
By the tech priests running the place.
Okay.
That
Cool.
that is to say, not the tech priests themselves. You've been, as this has been the case throughout your career. You have only dealt with the Skitarii, which is the armed forces of the priesthood of Mars. You have not had any direct contact with the tech priests themselves.
No, what I meant to ask is alone or with the remaining sedition silencer.
No, you alone.
Oh.
Well, no, actually, let me take that back and say you and your fellow remaining silencer.
Sure, that would be Strike,
Yep, exactly.
who's I suppose officially in charge. Unless
Sure.
you want to change that.
Sure. No. She's the boss. I think, however, when we meet Tim for the first time, Timotheus for the first time, he is alone. They've discovered one of the few remaining servitors deep within the maze that is the inner station, and Tim is basically the silencer who's on the hunt now. I imagine that Shrike is someplace coordinating with you. You're communicating via a microbead.
Of course.
An incredibly unstable microbead because of various environmental and factors. So sometimes it's like just like AJ, where you only hear every other word she says. So, but what I'm interested in knowing is how would Timotheus go about hunting this thing. Imagine the place being a dizzying maze of pipes, vents, ventilation systems, and basically one massive factorium, manufactorium. Sorry. How would Tim go about finding and disposing of this servitor?
So I have yet to find them.
You have not yet found the servitor.
Do I know where they are?
You have, however, found a corpse shredded to pieces by this rogue servitor. You have a rough idea of where it is.
Okay, I have a rough idea of where it is. And where am I in relation to it?
The servitor in question, you've narrowed it the area it can be in to within 100 meters of you.
In that case, I would probably be up high somewhere.
Okay.
Have a good vantage point.
Okay.
I imagine having chosen a position where I can have the best view with the best chance of a clean shot. I imagine if there are any exits I can't see, that either Strike is covering one of those, or I've set up something to alarm me should it go that way, so I can easily switch position for a better position to eliminate it.
Cool. So basically, you're not down there in the maze itself with the servitor, but rather you've gone up high and found a good vantage point, and basically, I imagine, wait for it to enter your field of vision.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. Well, in that case,
however long that takes.
However long that takes, I imagine you, Tim, is a patient person.
Yes. Very good at sitting completely still for a very long time.
Yeah. Cool. Well, occasionally you hear the spotter in your microbead as Shrike attempts to communicate with you. And where you're sitting, it's an amazing vantage point. You have pretty much every angle covered. Unfortunately, the the environment makes the interferes with the signal. So you can't really tell what it is she's saying. For all you know, she could be saying that that it's been found and eliminated, but you don't know. Eventually, though, the rogue servitor does come into view. As it lumbers through a narrow corridor. I imagine, or you can tell me if your weapon has a scope on it.
Let's have a look, because I think that was one of the things that was too expensive for me to buy.
Oh.
Yeah, I do think, and this is because I have two weapons that would be useful at this range, but I assume that a last weapon would be most efficient.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, that's the one I am using.
Okay. Cool. But no scope other than the iron sights that are built into the weapon.
Unfortunately, not. That
Okay.
will be one of my first priorities.
Well, it's served you well enough so far. You've had plenty of one shot, one kills so far. So you see this monstrosity, this servitor, enter into this corridor. It's a hideous abomination of flesh and metal. It once upon a time, before this monster was corrupted by these apostate tech priests, it was a regular servitor, so to speak. It had 2 legs, two arms. It looked, for all intents and purposes, like a human, and then not, because it is half metal and half flesh, but still it had the shape of, and it was probably used as a servant of sorts. Now, however, it's twisted. Its features are twisted and feral and bestial, and the apostate tech priests added metal claws to its hands, and it replaced its regular jaws with terrible, monstrous jaws full of steel teeth.
Well, that's not very nice.
Nope, it most certainly isn't. So this creature enters into your field of vision, lumbering forward as it does, half stumbling. What do you do?
Well, Tim takes aim
Hmm?
while he waits for it to lumber into ideal position.
Hmm?
I assume he knows where the best spot to shoot it would be.
Yeah, absolutely. He's already picked an ideal spot for this to happen. Absolutely.
I mean, where to shoot it
on
its body.
Oh, he would know that.
I assume he's dealt with them before.
Yeah, absolutely. He has. He's destroyed plenty of rogue servitors in the last few months. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, so he waits until the.
Oh, sorry, I muted. He takes aim while it lumbers into position.
Hmm?
Then he breathes out and takes the shot.
Okay. And once again, despite the steam-filled chamber he's in, and the difficult conditions, it is once again one shot, one kill, as the servitor, as sparks fly when the last beam hits the servitor, and it just collapses. One shot, one kill. So yeah.
Yeah. I think Tim, just to be sure, observes it for several heartbeats, just to see if it's getting back up before trying the communication device, probably finding that it doesn't work, and then relocating so that he can find a spot where it works.
Okay. He does find a spot then where he's actually able to hear what Shrike says, and he assumes she can hear him then.
Yes. Is she saying anything interesting?
No, not really. It's just all quiet on the Eastern Front. No, not that. But she's communicating that she hasn't spotted anything.
In that case, how do you use these things? Do you put your finger to your ear, or?
It's voice activated.
Oh, so it's voice activated.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's the case.
So if I just, if I was speaking to someone, it would just pick that up, or?
Yep, exactly.
Oh, in any case, she gets the message. Target eliminated. Relocate to my position.
She replies with good copy, and then she adds, normally good copy would be it. This signals that she's received your message, and yeah, end of transmission. But she then says, Fox, you have company.
She gets the message back. Elaborate, please.
It might be better if you just get your ass over here.
Good copy. And then I guess he moves.
When he reaches Shrike's position, she's standing with. Have you you've seen an arbitrator before. These judge, jury, and executioner, whose sole purpose it is to uphold imperial law, and she's standing with one of them. Only this one is his armor is entirely black, and on his chest is an eye, not an eye as in the organ, but an eye as in the letter I.
Yeah.
Etched in gold. And
interesting.
And as Tim reaches the two, the guy who apparently is he looks to be an arbitrator at least.
I think Tim would make whatever motion is appropriate and then await orders.
Are you Timotheus Tilke?
I am.
Follow me, please.
Understood.
He then turns around, and you notice that Shrike looks first at him, at his back, and then at you, her mouth agape, and she just looks at you, perplexed at what's going on. Do you follow this?
She gets a slightly perplexed look back before I follow.
Okay. Cool. So this person, whose name you don't know and whose purpose you also don't know, leads you.
Well, it doesn't matter. He's higher ranked than I am.
Yeah, he is. You could say that. He leads you out of the cramped quarters you're currently in, and into the what do you call them, the docks where ships dock whenever they come to the station. And he stops before this massive plasteel window, looking out into the darkness of space. And he turns around and just says, "Wait here, please."
And I give him whatever salute is appropriate again.
When you do give him the salute, he actually chuckles. You
I
hear
mean,
this...
if no salute is appropriate, then
no.
that
For all you know, you're doing the right thing. But still, it elicits a chuckle from this massive man dressed in arbitrator armor. He turns around and leaves, and you stand there for a while. I assume, at least. Unless
Well,
you
as I said, he's used to being still in
Mm.
one place for a long time.
Yeah. Okay. And when he returns, it is with one of the crimson-clad tech priests.
Oh.
Yeah, and you very rarely encounter these tech priests. Like I said earlier, you only deal with their military, the Skitari. You don't deal with the tech priests themselves. Yet here stands one of them before you, as you've probably seen a tech priest before, and tech priests are wholly devoted to technology
And the epitome of beauty.
Sort of, kinda. Well, if you find metal and electronic parts particularly beautiful, then yes. This priest, this tech priest, you recognize by his insignia as an engine seer, which is it's not among the lowest ranking tech priests, but it's also not particularly high ranking. And it just stands there. He just stands there. They are still somewhat human. He just stands there looking at you.
Well, aside from, I suppose, acknowledging his presence, I don't think I react.
Oh. And a while later, Shrike also appears, accompanied by two Skitari. And she's they indicate for her to stand beside you.
What
she
was
does.
the Skitari again?
They are the armed forces of the Adeptus Mechanicus,
Okay.
the soldiers, the tech priest soldiers.
Yep, understood.
And she does so. She stands beside you and looks at you, still with this same perplexed expression that she had when you first left her alongside this arbitrator-esque person.
My focus is probably on him if he's there.
Yeah, he is. He returned alongside the tech priest.
That's true.
Here.
Then my focus is on him. Not that I'm, staring or anything.
But... No. But as soon as a Shrike stands beside you, he speaks and he says, "You, Timotheus Tilkis, has been recruited by my superior. You will join me as I journey to the capital world, Scintilla, and the Tricorn, where you will meet our superior."
I salute him to acknowledge that, if that is the right thing to do. I don't actually know anything military-like at all, so...
No. It is, well... It is really, because he would... he's not strictly speaking military, he's Adeptus Arbitus, which is something else entirely. But
well, I suppose military is what I know, then.
Yeah, certainly. And he just nods and says, "Meanwhile, your companion, Reich, will remain here at the Orbital Archaeotech Research Unit BN1553, where she will continue her duty in a solo operative function. And yes, that is that. And the tech priests merely nods in acknowledgement, as if to say, to indicate that this is acceptable for the priesthood. Shrike looks. Even if you're not looking at her, you can feel her stare as she looks at you.
I mean, I've probably gotten to know her pretty well over the years. So.
Yeah, you have.
I sort of imagine her look as one of, what the fuck did you do this time?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this time would not apply, but yes, what the fuck? I'm a good boy.
You are a good boy. So the arbitrator-esque person turns around and then he seems to remember something, and he turns around again and looks at you and says, "If you have any unfinished business, anything you need to wrap up before we go, please do so. The cruiser leaves in half an hour. If you are not there, you will be shot. Is this understood?"
Understood.
Good. Then he turns around again and leaves, along with the tech priest and the Skatai. They also leave, leaving you standing beside this utterly confused Shrike.
Yeah. I look at her and shrug.
What was that all about?
I don't know, to be honest. Seems important, though.
You did hear the mention of the Tricon, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you do know what that is, don't you?
I mean, he probably does. I don't.
No, he probably doesn't.
Oh, in that case, the answer is no.
Unless you have the appropriate skill, he probably wouldn't. And I'm not really sure if it's probably Forbidden Lore Inquisition.
No. Then he says no. I actually don't.
Okay. Well, she gives him a dumiflad. It's the bloody Inquisition, you nitwit. You know, the people who blow up planets because they feel like it.
Well, I don't think they need me for that.
But okay, so either one of two things will happen to you, Fox. One, you die because they have something on you and they need you to die. Or two, you just made the biggest fucking career move ever. And if it's the former, I don't envy you. If it's the latter, I might drink a pint of Amasec or two to remember you, but I don't envy you. If it's the latter, then fuck you. Why is that not me in that cruiser going to the Tricorn? I have the skills, I have the leadership qualities. I'm as nearly as good a shot as you are. Why is that not me in that cruiser?
I assume the station needs you more than it needs me.
So, so I wish those words were comforting, but the Inquisition doesn't do second best.
Tim looks thoughtful, and then he shrugs and says, "Do not ask why you serve, only ask how."
Don't go throwing those words of wisdom at me. I've heard them as many times as you have from the bloody priests, but
Well, I'm sure you can try asking them, but then I don't envy you if you do.
no, of course you don't. Well, I guess one way or the other, this is probably the last time we'll ever see each other.
Well, it's been an honor serving under you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sure. Whatever. Just fucking go. It's clear that this
Envy.
this pisses her off somewhat fierce. She, in her mind, she was supposed to be on that shuttle because she's a better silencer than you are, in her mind.
Hmm. Well, assuming I'm not going to die soon, she's clearly wrong. I would give her an appropriate salute and go to fetch some stuff to bring. Just,
Okay.
I need more than one outfit, I assume.
Sure. And she does return the salute, but it's this, half-hearted salute she does. Okay, so you leave her standing there and find some whatever gear you need to take with you. And,
Yeah.
And as you reach the dock, and the arbitrator-esque individual is standing there. Someone is typing, I should say.
I'm going to mute again.
It's cool. The arbitrator-esque person is standing there, and as you approach, he nods in acknowledgement. You weren't late, so you won't be shot.
Of course I'm not late. That would not do, even if it was because I get shot.
Good. Let's be on our way. You are certain that there's not anything else you need to do before we leave?
I'm certain.
Excellent. Let's be off then. So we're coming up. Well, we've actually gone past the 1 hour mark. So we'll wrap this one up quickly. You also get to Scintilla and the Tricorn, the 3 towers. And
We're not killed by solar explosions on the way. That's good.
Nope, and no warp incursions or anything to that effect. So we'll take a brief break, and then we'll be back for some more introductions. So stay
Sure.
with us.